Okay, good morning class. So today, let's get the chart. Today we're looking at the November 2018 paper 1. We got up until question 5.1. Yeah? Okay. So we got up until question 5. Okay, then we went on to the next page. The third video, no? Right. So, the first question was to calculate E, the coordinates of E, and we said that the coordinates of E is going to be your constant term, either in a parabola equation or a straight line, okay? If we didn't know that, we can go with x-intercept, let y equal to 0, or in this case, y-intercept, we let x equal to 0. Okay? So that takes care of E. The next question was determine the coordinates of B. So if we're looking at B, as you can see here, B is the x-intercept of the parabola and it's an x-intercept of the straight line. So since we don't have the equation of the straight line, we can't go x-intercept, then we won't get the coordinates of B out. Okay? So what we do is, we say x-intercept, let y equal to 0. And this is the, on f of x. So 0 is equal to negative x squared plus 25. I divide by negative 1. So 0 is equal to x squared minus 25. Difference of two squares, x plus 5, x minus 5. Okay? So what do we say now? X plus 5 is equal to 0, so x equal to negative 5. Or x minus 5 equal to 0, x equal to 5. Okay? Did I answer the question? No. What's the coordinates of B? Therefore B would have been 5 and 0. I'm going to fill in A one time. A will be negative 5 and 0. Okay? You all okay with that? Any confusion? The next question is to calculate the equation or determine the equation of G. So if you're looking at G of x is the straight line. That is that graph going through it. Okay? So how do you calculate the equation of a straight line? Y is equal to mx plus c, and as m is your gradient, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? Why are you late? Sorry?
I'm stuck in chapter.
Stuck in chapter. Okay. So if we make this x1, that will be y1, x2, y2. So we do have 2 points on this graph. Otherwise, if we have the gradient of that graph and another point, that will also work. Or if we have the inclination, the angle, and another point on the graph to determine the equation of the graph. Okay. So let's work out our gradient. So it's going to be negative 5 minus 0 over 0 minus 5. So the gradient of this graph is 1. And the y-intercept is negative 5. Can you see that? So the equation of this graph is y is equal to x minus 5. Not so? But say we didn't know that. Say we didn't know that c is your y-intercept. So now, yes? You put it? Yeah. Okay. So we then say y is equal to x plus c, and we substitute one of the points as lying on this graph. Let's go with B. which is 5 and 0. Okay? You cut off there. Okay. So again, people, that's an x and a y. So 0 is equal to 5 plus c, so c is minus 5, which confirms what I said earlier on. So y is equal to x minus 5. And that's the equation of g of x. So I'm going to write it here. G of x is equal to x minus. Okay. Any confusion there? No? It's fairly simple. As you can see, we're populating the diagram. We're keeping the diagram in focus as we going through the calculations here. Next question, 5.1.4. Determine the length of DI or ID. So if we're looking at point D, what do we know about point D? The point of intersection. So if I know the coordinates of D, the positive part of the y value will tell us by how much that value has gone down from the 0 line. Not so? So if that's minus 5, and then ID would be 5. Not so? If the y coordinate of D was minus 12, then ID would be 12. Not so? So remember, length is never negative. Okay, and we know that D is your point of intersection. So how do we work out the point of intersection, or the coordinates of the point of intersection? Say the two graphs equal to each other. So f of x is equal to the g of x graph. So f of x is negative x squared plus 25 equals x minus 5. Now it becomes quadratic equation, becomes x squared, taking everything to the other side. It's x squared plus x minus 30. So that's now a trinomial. Not so? So that is x and x, 6 and 5. The bigger one must be plus, so it's plus and minus. You all okay with that? If you can't do that way, no problem, you use it on the product line. The factors of 1 is 1 and 1, 30 is 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 3 and 10, 4, 5 and 6. Not so? Do we add or subtract our products? We subtract it, so 30 and 1 is 29. 1 times 15 is 15, 1 times 2 is 2, you get 13 if you subtract it. It's going to be 10 and 3, which gives you 9, and 6 and 5 gives us 1. That is why 1 and 5 or 1 and 6. You all okay with that? So what do we do now? We solve for x. So x plus 6 equal to 0. So x is negative 6, or x minus 5 is equal to 0. X equal to 5. Did that answer the question? We still on the coordinates of D. So which of the two am I going to use? Negative 6. Why is it 2 points? Why is it 2 x values? There's 2 points of intersection. There's an intersection at negative 6, which is the D, and the 5. This 5 is actually this value here. As you can see, that's the other point of intersection. So it's a negative 6 I'm interested in. So what do I do with negative 6? I either substitute it into f of x, or I substitute it into the g of x. Not so. So we know that g of x is 5 minus x. So you say g of negative 6 is equal to negative 6 minus 5, which is negative 11. Therefore, the coordinates of D is negative 6 and negative 11. Ever answer the question? No. Therefore, ID, the length of ID is 11 units. Okay. Any confusion at this point? Right. Then if OH is 2 and 3/7. So let's look, we find FG. Okay, so FG is basically a distance between two graphs. FG is a length between two graphs provided that the parabola is on top of the straight line. Not so? So how do we calculate the distance between two graphs? So whichever graph is on top, which is f of x, your parabola minus your straight line graph. Or you could have said fg is going to be f of x minus g of x. Not so? One of the two. That's all out here. So, what is the equation of the parabola? Negative x squared plus 25. What's the equation of the straight line? X minus 5. You all agree with that? You all agree with that? It's wrong. What's wrong there? There's no bracket. Why do you need a bracket? More than one term for the negative side. Shukran. So we simplify that. It gives us negative x squared plus x plus 30. So this is the algebraic expression for that line FG. If I wanted to know what's the length of FG at 0, I plug 0 into the equation. Can you see that? If I put at 1, then I will get the length of it at 1. If I put it at 5, then the distance will be 0. Not so? And so on and so on. You guys understand? So they are told that FG is, yes. Sorry? Supposed to have been negative. Absolutely. Thank you. My mistake. Glad you came to school today. Right. Which is correct. You all agree with that? Right. So, people, we are given that FG, we must calculate the length of FG, if OH is 2 and 3/7. But we see that FG is on the negative part of your x-axis, of the y-axis, sorry. On the negative part of your y-axis. What does that mean to say? That x has to be negative. Not so? So, we'll substitute x is equal to negative 2 and 3/7. So therefore, FG is equal to negative 2 and 3/7 minus negative 2 and 3/7 plus 30. Squared. I forgot the squared. Okay, so let's plug it in the calculator. It's negative, open brackets. It's a mixed fraction, so I press shift and then the fraction button. Negative 2 and 3/7 all squared minus, open brackets, negative 2 and 3/7 plus 30 gives us 26,53. Is that correct? Did you get something different? Sorry?
I got the same thing. I just skeptical about my own stuff.
We just?
I'm just skeptical about my own stuff.
Skeptical.
Yeah. Because I failed.
Okay, so let's see if you see if the distance here is 30. Can you see that? That distance is 30. So which seem to be one of the larger distance between the two graphs. And this is coming in at 26, so it would make sense. Okay? Did anybody else get that answer? You got it as well. Okay, so it's accepted. So we can, as a decimal, we can write it as 26,53 or 26 and 26 over 49. 26 and 26 over 49. Or we could have written it as, yes? Sorry? How do I change? I press this SD, you see it? The standard to decimal. I press that, then you give me a decimal. The mixed fraction. Now you see on top of that there's a, what's the name in yellow, the key in yellow. Now to activate that mixed fractions, I press shift first, and then that button. Then I change it to from improper to mixed fraction form. Okay. But any of three of that forms will be put in. Okay. What's wrong? Any other questions? Yes?
So you couldn't have done, like, instead of doing on surface, you couldn't have done it to like the previous solution, and like saying that the extraordinary would have been 2 over 3 over 7, and then just substitute the graph.
So you want to substitute negative 2 and 3 over 7 into the straight line, into your parabola. So that is going to give us, move it over, so it's negative, open brackets, negative 2 and 3 over 7 squared plus 25, then you get 900. So that's going to be negative 2 and 3 over 7. Gives you 936 over 49. Then you do, for G, you substitute the same thing. So it's negative 2 and 3 over 7 minus 5. You get negative 52 over 7. So for this one here, it's going to be negative 2 and 3 over 7, and negative 52 over 7. No? Right. Then to get a distance, what I could have said also there for FG, it's going to be the top graph, which is 936 over 49, minus the bottom graph, which is negative 52 over 7. Oops. 936 over 49 plus 52 over 7. It will be 1300 over 49, which is the answer we got there. Okay, that's also why you could have done it. But the reason why I do it this way is because there's a skill that you need to master really. Because there's something that we apply in grade 12 or even in grade 11 when we're calculating the maximum length between graphs, and then that comes into play. We need to know how to write it like that anyway. But if you want to do it the second method that I've done now in the red, no problem. You can do that as well. You won't lose anything. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Alright, is there another question regarding this graph? Yes? It's a long question, huh? Take this off here. So the next question says, write down the domain and the domain of G and the range of F. Domain of G and the range of F. 5.1.5, the domain of G. So domain is all possible x values. Not so. If you're looking at the G of x graph, as you can see, this graph is going to negative infinity on x and positive infinity. So all the values exist on the x-axis. Not so. So what is the domain of G? X is an element of all the real numbers. Let's look at the range of f. What is range? All possible y values. Does f exist at negative infinity? Yes, as the arrows indicate it does. So we bring the graph up. When does it stop existing at? At 25. Not so. So in other words, y must be less than or equal to 20. Again, what is the range? Range is all possible y values. Not so? So the y values that exist on this graph is as long as y is less than or equal to 25. Let's look at 5.1.6. For which value or values of x will f of x be less than 0? So what does less than 0 mean? It's negative. So where the graph is negative. And where is the graph negative? Below the x-axis. This part of the graph is negative there. Negative. Is it continuous or a break in solution? Break. The solution is a part. So in other words, x must be less than negative 5. Or x must be more than. Must it be equal as well? No. And the last question says, give the equation. Give the equation of p of x if p of x is the reflection of f of x in the x-axis. So if something is reflected in the x-axis, what do we know? Y becomes negative. The reflection in x-axis, the rule is y becomes negative. So it's of f of x. So f of x, that is a y. So for the y to become negative is negative y is equal to negative x squared plus 25. Divide by negative 1. So y is equal to x squared minus 2. And this is the equation of p of x. Okay. Any issues here? No? 5.2. Given h of x equals, what type of graph is that? Negative 4 over x plus 1. It's a hyperbola graph. Showing all intercepts of the axis and any asymptotes. So we know that this graph has two asymptotes. There's a horizontal and a vertical asymptote. There's y, x. So what's the equation of the horizontal asymptote? Y is equal to 1. The vertical asymptote? X is equal to 0. So it's actually the y-intercept that's an asymptote. Not so. So this is negative. In which quadrants does it lie in? For a second, the third quadrant. What separates the quadrants is your asymptotes. Yeah, your fourth, second and fourth quadrant. What did I say? Third. Sorry, my mistake. Second and fourth. Okay. So what do we work out is how? Okay, so since the y-intercept is an asymptote, there's not going to be your y-axis. Sorry. Since your y-axis is an asymptote, the graph is never going to cut your y-axis. Not so? Makes sense? Now say you didn't know that. Okay, then we must always work out y-intercept. You let x equal to 0. Not so. So you say y equals negative 4 over 0 plus 1. Put that in the calculator. You get negative 4 over 0 plus 1. See, math error. Which means to say, no, there is no y-intercept. Did I have to show this part of the calculation? No. Because all 4 marks lies on the graph. Okay. The calculations on the side is this, my guide to drawing the graph. Does it make sense? Then the next thing is our x-intercept. What do you do for x-intercept? Let y equal to 0. Okay? So we then say 0 equals negative 4 over x plus 1. You get over the equal sign, become 4 over x equals 1. Cross multiply, so x equal to 4. So this is now enough information to draw my graph. There's the one graph. Here's the other. Okay? Any confusion? Okay. Then it says in 5.2.2, determine the equation of a line of symmetry in the form of y is equal to mx plus c, where m is less than 0. What does less than 0 mean? Negative. Then it says in brackets, the negative gradient. So looking at that thing, we know we have 2 axes of symmetry on this graph. The one going through like that, where is y is equal to x plus c, and one going like through like that, which is y is equal to negative x plus c. So which one are they referring to? Which one do they want you to calculate? The one with the negative gradient. So it's this one they want you to do. Make sense? So what is your c value? Your c value is your y-intercept. What's your y-intercept here? 1. Make sense, people? So the equation of that graph is y is equal to minus x plus 1. So we say 5.2.2, y is equal to minus x plus c. I can just put 1 in for c, or we can then rather do a substitution for 0 and 1. But we are quite sure that that is your y-intercept, your constant. So that is the equation they're looking for. Any confusion, people? No? The next question, 5.2.3. The point B, which is 2 and A, lies on the graph of H. Determine the value of A. So if it lies, so that means to say if I substitute the x value in, I should get the y value out. Why? Because that's lying on the graph of h of x. You understand? You put the x in, you get the y in. You put the y in, you get the x out. And that's how it works. Okay? So we're going to substitute b, which is 2a and 5, into h of x. Okay? Into h of x. So, as I indicated, this is going to be your x and your y. So h of x equation is, so remember that's a y and there's your x, no? So y is 5, so 5 is equal to negative 4 over 2a plus 1. So how do I solve for A now? First take the 5 over. So it becomes 5 minus 1, which is 4, is equal to negative 4 over 2A. Then what do? Cross multiply. So 8A is equal to negative 4. Divide both sides by 8. So A is going to be negative. Okay, did I make a mistake? No. All okay with that? Any confusion? No? There's one more question. No. Right. In question 5.3, an engineer is building a bridge, AC. Yeah, this is this length here. This length. Okay. Using a parabolic arc as its support base. Okay, so this here, the form of, conforms to the equation of a parabola quadratic function. The supports on either side of the central support, we're going to make the central support the y-axis, must be the same length, i.e. symmetrical. Okay? So which means to say that that length there is equal to that length, this length there, oops, this length there, AB is equal to the length of C, whatever that is. Make sense? Alright? And this length is equal to that, sorry, this length here is equal to that there, and that length is equal to that length. Okay, that's what it means to be symmetrical. The parabola can be estimated by the equation y is equal to negative 1 over 16x squared plus 4x. If the distance between each support is 10 meters, calculate the length of AB. Okay, so to calculate the length of AB, I need to know what the coordinates of B is. That's all. Because A, we know A is going to be, what's the x value on A? Negative 20 and 60. That's all. Why negative? Negative part of your x-axis. Why 60? Because why? It's perpendicular to the y-axis, or parallel to the x-axis. So what is the coordinate of B as it stands? Negative 20 and some y value. Not so. How do I get that y value? You're going to substitute x is equal to negative 20 into your parabola. Not so. So we go y equals negative 1 over 16 into negative 20 squared plus 4. Plug that into the calculator. Negative, oops. One over 16 into negative 20 squared plus 40 gives you 15 meters. So this is 50. So therefore, what is the length of AB? Therefore, AB is going to be 60 minus 50 will give you 45. Okay. Any confusion there? Okay. Question 6. In a class of 40 learners, 32 takes mathematics. Venn diagram. Okay. Grade 10 is a two-way Venn diagram. Grade 11 is three ways. Okay. The three subsets. In a class of 40 learners, so where did the 40 go? Outside is your sample space. 32 takes mathematics. So which means to say that people who takes maths only and people who takes mathematics and the other subject adds up to 32. Not so? There are some people always put a 32 here. That is wrong. No? Then we are told that 23 takes history. Okay? Which means to say that plus that is 23. You will understand it. Okay? 4 do not take mathematics or history. So where does the 4 go? No. Let the number of learners taking mathematics and history be x. So if that is x then what is this going to be here? Sorry? 32 minus x. And this here? 23 minus x. Not so? Draw a Venn diagram to illustrate the given information. There we go for 4 marks. The next question says, how many learners takes mathematics and history? In other words, they want you to solve for x. So how do we solve for x here? We say 32 minus x plus x, which is that whole set there, which is 32. Not so? Plus 23 minus x plus 4 plus 40 equals 40. Not so? Or you could have said 32 minus x plus 23 minus x plus 4x equals 40. Same thing. You all okay with that? So we solve for x here. Negative x is equal to 40 minus 4, which is 36. 36 minus 32 is 4. 4 minus 23. Negative 19. So x is 19. Check if that's correct. Yes? You all okay with that, people? So in other words, this is going to be 32 minus 19. What's 32 minus 19? What? 18. 13. You're getting upset, but you're how was I here? 23 minus 19. 4. Is that correct? Yes. Alright. Wrong with you people? Right. I think I must take it out so that we can keep the diagram in focus. Okay. Section 1.3. Determine the following. The first question says the probability that the learner takes history and mathematics. Takes history and mathematics. But the question was for the probability. So how do I calculate the probability? Is the number of favorable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. So favorable is history and maths. How many do history and maths? Oh yeah, I didn't write 19 in here. How many does history and maths? Huh? 19 out of 40. That doesn't simplify. B. The probability that the learner does not take mathematics. 4 or 8? What do you think? 8. Why 8 and not 4? He doesn't say take a subject but does not take maths. Then it would have been 4. Not so. So since he didn't specify, he just specified not mathematics, so we close mathematics and I'm left with 8. Okay. So it's 8 out of 40, which is 1 out of 5. Is that correct? Let's look at C. How many learners takes history but not mathematics? History but not mathematics is 4. Remember, they say how many. So many is the number. Yes? How come A is 2 marks? Because it's 90 and the probability calculation is 1. There's 2 marks. Do you think there's too many marks for that sum?
No, fine.
No, why do you ask that question? Yeah, because you see B is repeating the understanding of A. That's why, you see, whenever we give it to you the first time in an exam, and then it's 2 marks, thereafter it's 1. So if you're going to make that mistake here, you're going to filter throughout. Okay? And there's so many more things I wanted to ask you, but because of limited marks, we can't ask you more. Okay? People 6.2, the survey was done during 1 week at the tuck shop and found the probability of Fanta is 1 over 20. Then we are told that the probability of Just Juice, I don't know if you guys still get it. You guys know what this is, Just Juice? Yes. 1 over 4, Coke, 1 over 2, and energy is 1 over 10. They want to know, was this the only soft drinks that was bought? What do you think? Was this the only soft drinks that was sold or bought? No, why not? It doesn't come to 1. So 1 over 20 plus 1 over 2 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 10 is what? 9 over 10. So therefore, no. If it had to be 1, then you have accounted for everything. Does it make sense? Yes?
Do you have to do the calculation when you just say
No, just 1 more, girlfriend. So, just say no. Unless the question says, was something with explanation. Okay? Or give reason. Then the reason would be does not add up to 1. Okay. But yes, that's a fair question you should be asking. Yes? If 120 cool drinks were sold altogether, how many Energides were sold, suppose? The Energide is going to be 1 over 10 times 120, which is 12. Okay? Give me 1 minute. The last question, it says, describe in words the probability that Just Juice was bought. So the Just Juice comes in at a quarter. So the probability of Just Juice is a quarter. So we can say that for every 4 drinks sold, 1 was Just Juice. Or we can say that, okay, they're talking about the probability. So I would say 1 in every 4 of the drinks sold was Just Juice. That would be a fair explanation. Okay, that basically brings us to the end of the paper. Any questions here quickly before we wrap up? Okay, with regards to paper 2 are shorting the numbers of that paper, not so? Right, so we're not going to do the paper 2 in video format. Right, thank you. Can you come inside?
Morning, sir.
Morning, how are you doing?
Getting yourself?
Good.
My social